pole pots. Back in the day, I used to make my own pole pots because there was none available on the market. Used to basically cut up a Kinder Egg pot, put a little hole in the top if you wanted to tap a bit of bait in that way, use an old chopped up aerosol can as like your cupping kit. Nowadays, we've got a selection of everything. I have sort of 7 or 8 different pots that I actually use, and they're all for certain types of fishing, whether it be potting in big balls of ground bait, tapping in a few maggots. Not only do we have a selection of different sizes, we have a selection of lids to go with it. So today I'm here to show you how to get the most from your pole pots and how to use them and when to use them in the right situations. The first thing I want to talk to you about is accuracy. When you're feeding via a pole pot, that's what it does. It gives you the ultimate accuracy. So when you actually feed your bait, the most important thing is that you get that float right on top of it. If you have your pole pot 6 inches back from your tip, you're not going to be able to do this efficiently. I don't like to have it right on the end, I like to have it about 1 inch back. What this means is that my elastic doesn't catch on my pole pot, so it doesn't tangle around it. And when I actually feed, what I do is I compensate and I just lean forward ever so slightly, feed my bait, get myself set comfortable again, and I know my float will be right on top of it. I always look for a mark where my bait comes out on the water and make sure my float goes on top. Now, another little feature of these pots is that they have 2 different size holes. So for my top kits, I use the smallest hole, and that means that the pot is also secure. It's not going to slide up and down your pole at the same time. Picking the right size pole pot is so important because you need to make sure that you're either feeding enough bait to attract the fish or enough bait to hold the fish. So as you can see, we've got 5 different pots in the range. They all hold different volumes of bait. Starting with the XS pot, this holds just enough bait to get a bite. So in the depths of winter, when you don't want to overfeed your peg and make a mess of it, you can put the correct amount of bait in, feed it, get your bite and start again. When the fishing improves a little bit in the spring or going into the winter, or sometimes in winter when you're having them good days, the small pot holds that little bit more bait. So I might be able to get 2, maybe 3 feeds out of 1 pot, and I don't have to worry about messing my peg up because the fish are having a little bit of a feed that day. The same principle applies for the medium and the large pot. These pots are more sort of spring, summer pots where you're getting a lot of fish coming in your peg or you're catching well. The medium pot might not hold enough bait, so you need to step up to the large pot. Or the large pot might be creating too many line bites, so you need to drop back down to the medium pot. What you have to be aware of is feeding that right amount of bait. So that's why we have a selection of different pole pots. The XL pot is basically for them days when you're catching a lot of big carp in the edges. You need to feed a bigger volume of bait. And instead of going in with your cupping kit and feeding your bait and you ship back and you see a fish there and it's tailing up, what this allows you to do is fish with a pot on the end of your pole, go out, feed your bait, drop your rig straight on top of it, the fish comes in quickly and you're ready waiting with your trap set, ready to catch that fish. So there's a time and a place for each pot, it's just knowing when and how to use them. One key feature of pole pots is lids. First of all, I'm going to talk to you about actually using no lid. Now the situations I'd use no lid in is when I want to sneak my bait into the peg. And what I mean by that is when I want to make minimum noise. Fish definitely respond to noise, so if you make a lot of noise when you introduce your bait, the fish will respond to that and look up in the water. What I want to do is get my bait to the bottom before the fish realise, so that by the time they have realised, it's already gone past them and they have to follow it to the bottom. What this does is eliminate line bites. So when I'm using baits such as micro pellets and I've wetted them up, I can press them into my pot, turn my pot over, and because these pots have got slits and holes on them at the bottom, it releases the vacuum, so I can just literally put it on the water, your pellets will just melt out of your pot, minimum noise as possible. The fish don't actually see it quick enough, so what they do is by the time they have seen it, they actually end up following that bait down to the bottom, which leads to clean bites. Now, if I was to tap my bait from a height, then fish would hear it, they'd be buzzing around your peg, and that's going to lead to, foul up fish, possibly more line bites. The other time I would use a pot with no lid is when I'm feeding, say, little stodgy balls of stuff, so maybe little stodgy balls of ground bait, anything that I want to put a little nugget or a little ball into the peg. I take my lid off, I can just put it straight into my pot and just cup it in. Again, nice and softly if I want to, or I can drop it from a height and actually make, the stodgy ball make a splat and create a cloud, and that can lead to drawing fish into your peg as well. excess pot. This is the smallest pot in the range. This comes with one lid and that's just got one singular hole in it, and basically it's designed for tapping minimum amount of bait in. So when they're feeding 8 to 10 pellets, micro pellets, 4, 5, 6 maggots, when you're literally drip feeding as little as possible, just looking for that one bite, this is what this pot lid's designed for. Moving on to the small pot, we've got the same size hole, but we actually have 3 on this, and what this allows you to do with the lid is open it up, fill it up with your bait. As you close it back up, it allows you to sprinkle your bait in. So if you want to sprinkle your pellets from a height to create a bit more attraction, or sprinkle your maggots from a height, or even 4mm pellets, that's what this pot lid's designed for. Now, when you buy the pots, you'll get 2 in a pack, and you'll actually notice that one pot comes with slits and one pot doesn't. The one that doesn't, I personally use it for sort of maggots or pinkies, and the one that comes with slits, I actually use for micro pellets. Now, a good little tip is that when I fill it up, I might put a bit more micro pellet in than I want to, and I'll actually dunk the pot under the water with the micros in it. And what this does is actually just clog your pot up a little bit so that when you're tapping your pellets out, they don't all spill out at once. So you can almost hold them pellets in your pot that little bit extra, just gives you a bit more security knowing that all your bait ain't going to come out in one go. So you can get actually multiple feeds, you know, from one pot basically. The reason why I might want to feed multiple times is because, say you're in that situation in winter where you tap, say, a dozen pellets out and you get a line and you don't quite get that bite, it allows me to say, put 50 micros in this pot, and by dunking it under the water and clogging that pot up with the micros a little bit, I can tap a few in. If I don't catch a fish, 30 seconds, a minute later, I can tap a little bit more in. Instead of having my excess pot where I just get one feed, with this, like I say, I can get multiple feeds. It gives you multiple chances of trying to catch the fish. So moving on to the bigger pots, the medium and the large in the range. When I would use these pots and what lids I would use with them, totally depends on the bait. So I'm going to start with a sprinkle lid. The sprinkle lid on the medium and the large can be used for smaller particles such as 4mm pellets, maggots, if I want to sprinkle in a larger volume of micro pellets. When you're sprinkling bait, it offers you a lot of attraction. You've got a bigger column of bait falling through the water, which in turn can draw a lot more fish into your peg. What you have to be careful of is it doesn't create too many line bites though. If it does start to create line bites, then you've got to look for a different pot lid basically and deliver the bait into your peg differently. So by having the small rim dome top pot or by having the larger rim, you can deliver your bait different ways. So with this one where we've got the slight dome on it, the slight dome just stops the bait bouncing out as easily when you're shipping out, but it delivers that bait a little bit quicker than a sprinkle pot. It gets your bait into your peg a bit faster. The larger rim where we've got a bigger hole, that gets your bait into your peg the quickest. So if you're getting a lot of fish in your peg, and you want to fill that up with say some pellets or corn, anything like that, when I release it into my peg, it's going to come out of my pot nice and quick, hopefully taking the fish to the bottom and eliminating them line bites. Now again, you've got slits on all these pots. Use this to your advantage. When I'm feeding my sprinkle lid and I want to feed say 4mm pellets, what I will do is I'll open the lid up, fill it up with 4mm pellets, dunk it in the water, and what that does is, again, it stops all your pellets from bouncing about as you're shipping out, because dry pellets, dry 4mm pellets are going to bounce about as you ship out. And also, it makes sure that all them 4mm pellets are sunk, because sometimes you go to certain fisheries and it's fishery only pellets, and you can either add a little bit of oil to them, but what I like to do is just dunk them in the water. By the time you've shipped out and you're ready to feed, all the pellets have been coated in water and they'll sink to the bottom quickly. Make sure you use the right pot and lid for the right situation, and don't be scared of changing throughout the day.